Hey. I had another rearrange my life day. It's my room, but sometimes we gotta shift things around to let some energies be released, I guess. Feng shui your life. But then my son messaged me. He had the day off, and what are you done with your day? I was like, I cleaned, rearranged my room, cleaned most of the house, took a shower, worked out. I just did a face mask. I sat outside, soaked up the sun, and I was just finishing up dinner whenever we'll finish making it when he called. But we keep going back and forth, and I can't tell if he's down, depressed, bored. I know he's at a crossroads trying to figure out, what do I do next? And as a teenager, I don't know if anybody remembers that. You could possibly flick a coin and that could decide your fate. But my son is he's a Taurus. So he's very focused on money and the next step. And where do I go from here? What will make me most successful? If we could only have some of those traits in all of us, right? But like I had to tell him, stop focusing on money so much, because you have what you need. Eventually you're going to have things that you want, And sorry, my dog's going crazy playing with the blanket. And I was like, so enjoy the experience. And I think a lot of us forget, enjoy the experience. And I had told him, there's all these things we've already done. We've climbed mountains, we've been to beaches, we've gone to foreign lands. We rode on a baby elephant when he was little. I can't even name it all. We've been to pyramids in other countries that were 5,000 years old. My children have lived so ahead of pretty much anything. Like, most people in this world will never experience what we've experienced in our lives. And I told him, my fast and furious child, you're very much like me. Like, I wanted to drive race cars, and I wanted to play football, and I wanted to do all the things that girls weren't supposed to do. I've always been the one to break the mold. You want to do what? Put me in a box? I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. And he had to, yeah, that's true. And I told him, I said, we'll go skydiving one day. Then that made me think of when we went to a fair a couple of years ago and we rode the Zipper. I don't know if anybody remembers this or if that's what it's called. It's this ride that goes like this, and there's these cages, and each one of them goes as the thing is going. They're flipping different ways, and you can rock them and make them keep going. So he had to have someone ride with him, and I was like, I'll go. I used to love that ride. I did not like that ride this time. I even just told him, I was like, my diaper was full by the time the ride was over. Wasn't wearing one, but I felt like I should have had one. And I remember holding on. Actually, I'm holding on to the railing, and I have my knees locked underneath the thing because I was slipping up and down on the ride. And I screamed. My daughter goes, we could hear you screaming. I'm sure the entire fairgrounds heard me going off. Just, make it stop! And it was steadily rocking while they're trying to let us out. He goes, Mama, the ride's over. I was like, mm-mm. And he said, you're okay? I'm like, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good. My knuckles were so white. He had to pry my hands off and go, we can get off now. And I was like, uh-huh. I mean, I was frozen in fear. And it's funny how we go through these moments in life, and when you come across a wild animal, you get that fight or flight feeling. But when you're in a cage and that feeling comes, you're just like, I don't know what to do. And we have to learn to embrace that. Even when I got off the ride, my legs were shaking. I was so just, who does that? That is the dumbest thing in the world. That fight or flight kicked in. And then I was like, not wanting to fight, but it was just all gurgling inside of me. And I don't know if we realize that's what we're going through when we're going through certain things. When our emotions rise up and, I can't let my emotions show, then I won't look cool. Who cares? Let it out, because if not, you're trapping it in your body. One thing I learned is when something happens with an animal, if you ever watch them, they'll shake it off. They're actually releasing energy out of their body that could become potential trauma. It's like when you get in a car accident, if you get out and just be like, and shake it off, you would break away from that embedding into your cellular structure. So we have to start realizing that we have to do certain things, get it off. When you feel something coming upon you and it's not you, learn to just brush it, shake it, do whatever. My mom taught me stomp your feet at the door. That's not my energy. That doesn't belong to me. It's not coming in my house. And that's ways that we can start to repair the damage within our body and keep it from continuing building up, because most of us are so damaged. I won't say damaged. We're mishandled to a point that it has affected our ability to interact with one another. And we're in a world where it's two different worlds in one moment. You have half that's still wounding because they're wounded, and the other half waking up going, I want to heal. But we have to keep interacting with each other. And the more that we interact with each other, there's those that want to help those that are wounded, but the wounded want to lash back. It's like a hurt animal. If you go to try to help an animal that's been abused or hurt, it's more than likely going to try to bite you, hiss at you, growl at you, spit at you. It's going to defend itself because it doesn't know your intention. This is the same with human beings. They just do it in a different way. Through glares, through odd behaviors, through things that they'll say to get you to go away. And it's not on you to save them. It's not on you to be like, it's okay. It takes time to earn somebody's trust. But all of us know that once you lose trust, that's the hardest thing to get back. And it doesn't even have to be that I lost your trust. You lost your trust in someone else, and now you can't trust anybody. That's why I made the video the other day, learn to trust yourself again. Because when you can trust yourself again, now you have that guidance system back on track. Now you can feel things clearly. You can see things clearly. Believe it or not, you'll start to hear things you didn't even know you were supposed to hear. And I was walking by a girl at work yesterday, and she was kind of staring off in space, and she went a different direction than the way that we normally pass. And I said, what boy is on your mind? She's 16. And she goes, she didn't say anything. And I said, how dare you walk past me like you don't know me, because we talk every single day. And she goes, what? Well, what'd you say? And I said, what boy is on your mind? And she said, I wasn't thinking about a boy. And she stood there and she goes, well, my last thought, that actually the last thought I just had was, I wonder if he hates me. And I looked at her and I said, it doesn't matter if he does or he doesn't hate you. If he hates you, that's his loss. It's his problem, not yours. And if he does, then you deserve better. But don't let your mind be bothered by how he feels about you. And she looked at me and she goes, thank you so much, Sheena. And smile was back on her face. The light was back in her eyes, and she was out of the fog that she was in. But it was strange. It's like I knew what she was thinking. So that's what I was saying. You're going to begin to not even hear it, but understand just by the way that people are behaving what they're going through. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, you're psychic. No, I'm not psychic. I'm intuitive, clairvoyant, whatever you want to call it. There's all these labels that they want to put on things, and it doesn't define any of us. You're either emotionally available and understanding and intuitive, meaning you can feel the world around you. You can see if the trees are dying and go, oh, we need to kind of cut back on what we're doing because we're hurting them. It's like I left my plants outside to get some sunshine. It's done nothing but be freezing cold, and I'm talking extreme cold. It was 28 degrees last night. I didn't realize it was going to get that low. And I even thought, well, they'll make it another night because it wasn't that low the night before. And we're supposed to be getting into the 70s and the 80s. I went out this morning and looked at them, and I've done nothing but apologize to them. And oddly, I knew exactly what to do to try to help them, and now they're in ICU again. I wanted them to get out for their betterment, to get fresh air. And in the end, it's like I did a little extra harm than good. But they're always a learning experience. They're always things, everything around us is. Like I said, you can learn to pay attention to the world around you, like my dog and my plants and the trees outside and just human behavior. You know, now that I've bought a patio set, everyone's always on my side of the porch. And I'll walk out and my neighbor's sitting at it and I'm like, it's fine. Her, I don't mind. She needs to get air and sun and she's respectful. The other one that will just come and plop down and not clean up his mess, go on your side. It's one of those things. I feel like I'm being pushed right now to learn to speak up, but do it in a nice manner. Do it in a way that's not going to shame somebody or make them go into their shell or make them become traumatized and hurtful to the rest of the world. It's not always the easiest thing to do, especially when people are already hurt. Because when we add to that wounding, guess what? They're going to grow more angry, bitter, and hateful. That adds more to the fog of the world that we're in. The toxicity, the cloud, the wounded people that can't wake up and heal. And I know it's hard because it's easy to scream in your emotions and lash out and, screw you. That's why the terminology of Karen came about. People minding your business, not theirs. And instead, we have to learn to pull back. My grandmother had a way of making you think about what you were doing or how to solve your problem without even bringing up anything about what it was she was trying to say to you. At one point, I had that knack. And then it's kind of like that set sail and my emotions kept taking over. And then I was just, fuck you and I don't care. And who are you to tell me what to do? And I didn't go get in people's business. But if you got in my face, I was sure to let you know real fast. And not in a nice way. So now I'm kind of going back into that pull back hermit mode, sit down and think and reflect. How would I want to be handled in that situation? Or how would that make me feel if someone said that to me? And we're going back to the golden rule here. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Don't do to others what you don't want done to you. Real simple. We're going back to first grade at this point. How would that make you feel? And I know it's hard because it requires a lot of patience in a very impatient world. I live in the same world you do. I've had to stand in line with people that are just, oh my God. Like I have to be somewhere in an hour and there's two people in front and they'll be gone in 5 minutes. A lot of times I just start making jokes and talking to the people around me and the next thing you know, the whole line's talking and before you know it, we're moving. Because the person that's bitter and angry doesn't realize they're stalling everything up in front of them because now they're having to be shown, shut up, breathe, be patient, it won't last forever. We all affect each other. I think we forget that. Doesn't matter if you're at the front of the line or the back of the line, you're still going to be affected because if you're at the front of the line being taught the lesson, guess what? Now the register can go offline and here we all gotta still wait. Let me practice my patience some more. You know, I used to have to sit there with my children, sometimes for hours, and wait for certain things. You know, you go to get your tags on your car, or because they've always been homeschooled, so they went everywhere I went. And if there was a line, my children learned how to wait patiently in line without touching everything. Like I always told them, these are your germ sticks. You look with your eyes, not your hands. Don't touch everything. That's how you get sick. Sometimes it was put your hands behind your back. Put your hands in your pocket. Twiddle your thumbs. Whatever it was. Twirling them around right next to me or just talking to them. It's funny. We forgot to talk because we're always waiting on a prompt from a keypad to ask if we confirm the total. Do we want cash back? What's your PIN number? Is that correct? Look at that. You memorize the whole thing. I've even asked the cashiers many times, do you ever get tired of the way life was? The older ones. What do you mean? You know, when we all looked at each other in the face and we actually interacted. They're like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, because it's like cows going to slaughter at this point. Run in, get in line, get what you need and get out. Some people are on their phone most of the time and won't even acknowledge. Because everyone's gotten too fast, too furious. Going back to the very beginning. Like with my son, my fast and furious child. He can't figure out if he wants to go to North Carolina so he can work on the flight line, or Japan and Okinawa on the little islands and work in the back. He wanted to go to Tokyo. And that's where I came to my fast and furious child, that big city kid. Which is funny because he grew up in the country. Granted, he did go through a lot of other places that the big cities, that was the other countries. So it's hard, especially when you have to make decisions in life, and you have to do them instantaneously too, because how you approach somebody or react to them is going to affect the outcome of the situation in which you're in. Same like with my son. I told him, you have time to figure this out. It's okay. And with him, I can't even say pray about it. Oh, yeah. That spiritual stuff you talk about, Mom. I'm not like you. He's more like me than he knows. I just let him handle it in his own way. I know we all pray, whether we call it that or not. When you talk in your head, you don't have to start it with dear blah, blah, blah. It's just thinking, sometimes to yourself. But you're actually communicating with a higher power, or a power that is outside of you. And a lot of times when you're thinking, you're looking for guidance. Funny thing is, the answer's already inside of you. I learned that, I think it was Eckhart Tolle. There's a lot of great spiritual gurus that if you're waking up, they can help you get on the good foot. If you're choosing to stay asleep, more than likely you're not looking for any of that anyways. So you'll keep watching your TikTok videos and swiping left or right, looking for a piece of meat that'll give you a good time. Not passing judgment on anybody. Sorry if that offended anybody. Just saying. Some people choose to entertain themselves than to wake up and heal themselves. Because the funny thing is, it takes a warrior to wake up. And an even greater warrior to say, I've got the courage and the strength to do this. So if you're feeling any pain and sorrow and talking and trying to figure out your next step, congratulations. Welcome to the living, because the dead are still sleeping and they're very easily entertained at this point. So I don't know if that made sense to anybody. I know there was a lot of blah. But sometimes that's how it be, right? But peace, love, and light. Toodles.